MMA has a new favorite chant for the night, and I'm a fan. It's fuck Jake Paul, and I'm down for this to keep on going. Hello, and welcome to the Golden Octagon MMA Podcast, number 15. I am Matt Anderson. On the other side of your screen, you have Dorian Rose. How are you doing tonight, or today now, after last night's fights, dude? Crazy fights we had.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm still buzzing from the fights last night. You know, that main card it delivered just a wild turn of emotions from, you know, the opening of the card all the way to the end and all, you know, different types of variances of emotions. So it was a hell of a night, and the pay-per-view definitely delivered. Definitely.
It was a great night of fights, as you just said. So before we get into the show, I'm going to give you guys a quick rundown on just what to look forward to on today's show. So up first, we're going to talk about last night's card, UFC 261 as a whole, main card, prelims, all that. We'll give you our thoughts and opinions on the card. Then next, we will be talking about any UFC news, any announced fights, anything like that. Moving right along to this upcoming weekend's fight night, Dominic Reyes versus Yuri Prochazka. It's going to be a banger. We're going to talk about it. Moving on to a new segment on this show. It's called Revisited. I'm going to give Dorian or myself a chance to go back to last week's show and just revisit or change, talk about just a little bit more, anything like that, any topics from last week's show. And then lastly, my favorite, our WTF Moment of the week. It's my turn. I'm going to ask Dorian a question that he does not know of, MMA or otherwise related. It's always fun, so stick around for that. But before we get started, if you guys wouldn't mind, please put a thumbs up on this video just to show your support. And if you're not subscribed to the channel yet, come on now, what are you doing? Subscribe to the channel. It's super easy. It's that little red button. That's all that we ask. And then if you agree or disagree with anything that we say in this podcast, please just let us know in the comments. Let us know how you feel. Let us know if we're right or wrong, and we'll get back to you. We enjoy comments. It really helps out. But that's all we got, so let's get into the first topic on today's show. Alright, Dorian, so up first on today's show, UFC 261. I'm going to just give you the results from the full card real quick. Kamaru Usman getting it done over Jorge Masvidal in devastating knockout. Rose Namajunas as the underdog, upsetting the favorite, reigning defending Weili Zhang. Valentina Shevchenko doing what she does, but with a little more ferocity than she normally does, getting it done over Jessica Andrade. Oh man, the most ironic fight of the night. It was sickening to see. I hope Weidman recovers speedily, but Chris Weidman breaking his leg on Uriah Hall's leg with the first pretty much strike of the night. And then the fight that opened up the main event of the night, another one that ended in kind of a weird way. Anthony Smith gets it done over Jimmy Crute. We'll talk about what happened, but like another wild leg injury. But before we get into it and just give you our thoughts and opinions on the fight, I do have to say I must relinquish my title to this man over here. So this belt right here, he is this week's pick champ, so I have to relinquish this. So here you go, man. Are you ready for this? Here you go.
I've been telling you, I'm coming back for it.
It's yours, man. It's yours, dude. It is yours. I don't even know what to say. That being said, you picked Usman to win. You picked Rose to win. And then you picked Valentina to win. We both picked Chris Weidman to win. That didn't happen. And we both picked Anthony Smith to win. So it was really like riding on those three title fights. So you are this week's pick champ, but it is okay because that bad boy is coming back here next week. At least I hope so. Let's just go ahead and just talk about the fights as a whole, Dorian. So before we jump into this, is there any main takeaways from the night that is just stands out that's, I guess, not a particular fight?
Really, I think just the energy from the crowd was kind of the thing that kind of stood out the most as far as, just it's been so long since we actually heard like a crowd. I know the McGregor fight and the Max Holloway and Calvin Kattar fight in Abu Dhabi had about like 5,000 people or something like that, but it wasn't a huge crowd. But for that arena to have 15,000 deep, it made you forget how much you love the emotion of the fans that they can irk inside of the fighters. So that was kind of the one thing that kind of, overall, with the pandemic and everything last year, no fans in any of the fights at all. Just getting back to a little bit of normalcy and finally getting the fans in and bringing that energy.
Fair enough. My dog just decided he wanted to start whining at my door, so if you hear anything, it's just this guy. I have no clue what he's whining at. But I do agree with you. Those fans, from the opening fight of the night all the way to the very end, those fans were definitely noticeable. You just felt like they just gave the fighters energy. They were pumped to be fighting in front of a crowd again, and it definitely showed. So I guess let's jump into the card, man. Let's talk about the main event itself. Kamaru Usman versus Jorge Masvidal. I'm going to go real quick. I'm going to be honest. I thought Jorge won round one, but it was a lot of people that were split. Like, a lot of people were saying Usman won round one. I've seen quite a few people say Jorge won round one. I don't know if there's any bias in there. I was rooting for Jorge, so of course I thought he won round one, but if it's close, you're always going to lean toward your bias. But the fight didn't go on much past that. I almost feel like Jorge was confident that there was no way that Usman was going to knock him out. He was getting hit multiple times throughout like the first round, and he was just smiling like, oh, if that's all you got, game on. It was kind of looking like it had a chance to go Jorge by decision, but that was cut out real quick. Usman lands the right hand from hell and knocks the sweat clean off Jorge's head into row 15, getting it done by devastating knockout. Usman gets it done over Jorge. What do you got to say here, man? How did you like this fight, and how do you think it went?
Man, it's just the evolution of Kamaru Usman, man. Every single fight, he gets better and better. And it's like, he's been fighting for, in the UFC, what was that, his 14th fight? He's 14-0 in the UFC. Second fighter to only start the UFC with that type of winning streak outside of Anderson Silva. And Anderson Silva did it 16 times. Kamaru Usman is slowly working himself into one of the greatest fighters of all time. It might be hyperbole, or maybe I'm just too much in the moment right now, or whatever, but just the evolution of his striking. I still even remember, like, in the Woodley fight, I doubted him against Woodley, but I thought he was the bigger fighter against Woodley, but I thought Woodley would be more experienced, but, Usman was still able to take it to him. But just the growth that he made just from that fight to this Masvidal fight here with his striking, now that he's been with Trevor Whitman and them for his last two camps, his right hand is an absolute shotgun. Because in the Gilbert Burns fight, he had a perfect pull counter right hand in the second round that hurt Gilbert Burns, and he did essentially the same thing to Masvidal. And I think Masvidal's problem was, I think he got a little bit too confident in his hands. And by the time that he was taking a few shots by Usman, he thought that he was going to be able to land them. But Usman was landing some pretty good shots, and all it was going to take was just for that one money shot to land. And Usman, the way he set it up was perfectly. Usman hit Masvidal with a jab, and then Masvidal started sort of mocking him and had his hands down and was going like this. And it wasn't but 5 seconds later, Usman set it up perfectly. He does the slap with the left hand to set up the right hand. Masvidal goes to throw the check left hand as Usman is coming in, and Usman's right hand just makes it in first and catches Masvidal clean and gives the front row a whole dropping of sweat from Jorge Masvidal's head. So just how far he's came in his striking, the dude's just unbelievable, man. And I think, without a doubt, dude's pound for pound number one fighter right now.
I'm not willing to have that discussion because we all know what my thoughts are. Bones equals GOAT until we are proven otherwise, because, that's just the way it is. He is the level.
I think he's got to be active though.
Okay.
I still think that's going. I still think that's hindering John. And then in John's last few fights, he hasn't looked as invincible as he used to back in the day. Like, Usman is looking to the point to where he's on Habib level. Like, how the hell is anybody going to be able to beat him? John has shown.
All right, hold on. Time out. Let's talk about this in the fight talk portion of this before we just get all thrown off topic. So here we go. I do believe Usman is the best 170-pound fighter right now. But his striking is still, you can say what you want, but he was winging a lot of punches in that first round that were nowhere close to hitting. It looked like Francis. He was just winging at first. He settled down later on in the first round, and obviously in the second round, like when he hit him. His striking isn't there yet. And a person that has crisp striking that is able to stop the takedowns is going to give him issues. I want to see Colby versus him. Again, it was a great first fight. Usman's hands are getting better, so I guess we'll see how it goes from that perspective, because Colby is next. Anything else on this fight specifically before we move along, aside from the GOAT talk?
Yeah, and I do think that Usman did win the first round. I know that a lot of people were, going back and forth. I know Vidal was more active on the ground. I just thought that Usman had a little bit more control.
He landed more on the feet. That's what I'm saying. He hit Usman more on the feet round one.
Well, a lot of those strikes were counted from Masvidal throwing the elbows and stuff from his back. So he had like double the strike count, but he was hitting them with, little elbows that wasn't really doing too much to Usman. So I think him having the control in that portion, that ended up getting him the win. But overall, just a hell of an evolution that he's made.
It's definitely interesting to see what Kamaru Usman will become in the future, because he's not too old yet. He's still in his prime. But before we just rant about this fight specifically for longer and longer, let's move on to the co-main event. Not much here to talk about, man. Rose versus Weili here. Rose just comes in, throws maybe 7 to 8 leg kicks, and on that 9th one, 10th one, I don't know, Weili gets privy to it and she puts her foot back. And the next one that Rose throws is a head kick from the same side. Weili thinks that she's getting leg kicked, pulls her feet back, and right over the top is Rose's foot, knocks Weili down. I don't want to say clean out, but definitely dropped her, and then just jumped on there, finished her off right away, maybe 1 or 2 seconds later. The fight didn't go that long, and new Thug Rose Namajunas is your new 115-pound champion. Give me your thoughts on what happened here, man.
I was really going hard for Rose.
I had no clue who to root for. It was just I just didn't want either one of them to lose. I'm a fan of both fighters so much. It's like I don't know who I want to win. Sorry, man. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was going for Rose. I was pulling for her really hard. She has became one of my favorite fighters, and it's just because the person that she is. She's such a wholesome person. She's so open and honest about, all of her feelings and everything, and her mindset when she was a champ the first time, she admitted that she didn't like being the champion, and when she got knocked out, when she got slammed on her head by Andrade, that it was a sense of relief for her and everything like that. So she's always been so open, and it's made her such a likable person. But I did think, that she had the capability to beat Weili Zhang, but I knew that she was going to have her hands full because, Weili, she can take some shots, man, and she can also dish them out. She's super strong, got really good cardio. You can't really take her down, and she's really good as far as implementing her wrestling game and she is bricked up. Like, if you see Zhang's physique compared to most 115ers, it's not even fair because she is literally bricked up compared to everybody else. But Rose, you could see from the jump, had the speed advantage because with the way she was bouncing in and out, was popping her jab on Zhang. She popped her a few times with the jab. Zhang was kicking her a few good times in the leg. And as you said, when she went to throw that leg kick, Zhang swung her hips back to make the leg kick miss. And then the second time Rose went to throw the head kick, that's when Weili put her hips back, and she went to put her arms up like this to block a head kick, and Rose was still able to sneak the head kick up in between her arm and to generate enough power to be able to knock her down like that and then be able to finish up with the ground and pound. It just shows the versatility and just a pure power from Rose Namajunas to be able to pull that kick out like that, land it right on the jaw, and you don't really have much of a line to go through as far as space to land that kick, and she landed perfectly, put her out. And man, I was rooting for her so bad when I was on my couch watching the fight. As soon as Rose landed the head kick, I jumped up and I took off running. I did not watch the ground and pound whatsoever because I knew the fight was over then and there. So, yeah, it was crazy to hear her say that she thought that the fight was over because it was clear once Rose landed that head kick, the fight was going to be over. And I think Rose was the one who actually stole the show for the night. She really put on a hell of a performance.
The main event was, to me, was just just an extra fight. Like, I would have still bought this if it was
cherry on top.
Yeah, like exactly. So, moving right along, man. Valentina versus Andrade, man. I was really pulling for Andrade. We all thought this was going to be Valentina's toughest test, but as you saw, man, Valentina just has no competition, man. She almost fought with extra ferocity because, like, it was almost like she was, everyone, how do I say this? She was upset that everyone was saying that Andrade could challenge her, and she wanted to come out and put a finish on there. Where has that been at this past couple of fights, man? Because what happened, dude? She laid on Maya for all 5 rounds and did nothing. So, at the end of, like, round 1, I actually messaged you. I was like, oh, here it comes, man. We get Valentina 5 rounds of laying. As I mentioned last week, I was like, I swear I hope this doesn't happen. Luckily enough, she ends up putting a little throttle down and getting Andrade out of there, and we weren't forced to watch 5 rounds of ground hugging. But what did you think happened here, man?
I love the way Valentina fought. You know, she really fought with a chip on her shoulder. Really loved the edge that she had, and she really got a pretty good ovation from the crowd overall. The crowd really seemed to really take to Valentina, and even when Valentina was using her wrestling, when she kept taking Andrade down, when you're in most places, especially in Jacksonville, Florida, when they were booing Weili Zhang in the co-main event, which Weili Zhang she's a great fighter. I don't know why you would boo her. But, yeah, I was really surprised to see the pop that Valentina got for the crowd. Because when she took her down, the crowd was still cheering Valentina. And I was like, wow, she really got a good reception from them. And, yeah, she really fought with that chip on her shoulder. I think the crowd ended up helping a lot of fighters tonight. I think it helped her in particular because I think that, you know, in the Jennifer Maia fight at the Apex Center, no crowd, she could focus on, you know, just getting the W. Maybe that was what she kind of did in the Jennifer Maia fight. Wasn't really too much energy, just there kind of doing her job, not super motivated. But she did finish Caitlin Chukagian in a similar fashion. She had her in a crucifix as well. She finished Jessica I mean, she's had some solid performances. So I think you're holding the Jennifer Maia performance against her a little too harsh.
I lost a lot of money on that fight, man.
I can tell because it is. I feel like you're holding a grudge against her because she normally does pretty good as far as putting on a pretty good performance, and she just completely overwhelmed Andrade. Andrade had nothing for her, and I thought this was going to be the toughest challenge as far as Valentina's title reign, and Andrade wasn't able to do jack shit because Valentina controlled that fight from beginning to end, and just the way she just bullied her, got her down whenever she wanted to. Andrade to get up, Valentina took her right back down, and then that final sequence for her to get her into the crucifix and just bomb her with those elbows until the ref broke it up. I'm glad to see that Andrade didn't dispute the stoppage because there was no way she was going to be able to defend herself from them elbows, and it would have just been nothing but trouble from there. So Valentina just proving that she's the queen of 125, and nobody in the near future is going to be able to challenge her.
Fair enough. Real quick, we have just a couple of minutes left. These two fights both ended kind of similarly. Jimmy Crute getting what I like to call Sugarfoot. He had I don't know what is it called, like foot drop, something like that, where he got kicked right in his leg, and then he had no feeling in his entire foot. He just kept rolling his ankle over and over again. What happened to Sean O'Malley? But Anthony Smith kicks Jimmy Crute behind the knee, so different spot, but kind of the same thing happening there. And, man, I hate to see this happen. Chris Weidman kicking Uriah Hall and just absolutely breaking his leg right in half, wrapped around, dude. The same thing that happened to Anderson Silva on Chris Weidman. So just the irony there is just out of this world. But hopefully Chris Weidman can have a speedy recovery. Uriah Hall being the first UFC fighter to win without throwing one single strike. So congrats, Uriah Hall. Get well, Chris Weidman. Anything on either one of these two fights, man?
Just seeing the way that Chris Weidman it's almost like it kind of came full circle. He put away Anderson Silva that way, and he ends up getting put away by Uriah Hall that way. Because Uriah Hall was always compared to Anderson Silva, and for him to throw a leg kick in the same exact way and for his leg to break, just completely heartbreaking. Just a gruesome injury. And you could just see just the heartbreak on his face when he was getting carried off, going into the back, and he was just a look of pity on his face, man. I just felt so bad for him, and I think Jimmy Crute, that was a little bit more of an injury than that drop foot because the kick landed. It didn't land on his calf. It landed more behind his knee. Mm-hmm. I'm wondering if that's like a tendon or maybe like a bone or something like that broke because that looked a little bit worse because his foot completely crinkled up, almost as if I wondered if it had torn his Achilles or something like that. I don't know what it is, but it looked way worse than the regular drop foot injury.
You do know,
was a crazy sequence.
That nerve goes all the way down, your leg, right? It isn't in just one spot, so it could be anywhere down, his leg. If he get hit there, that could happen.
Right, it's just more common to be seen in the calf kick. Mm-hmm. It was the way the kick landed on the side of his knee. It just looked like it was more than just that drop foot injury. It looked like more of I don't know if it could have been an ACL or anything like that, but it looked way worse than the regular drop foot injury. But just a crazy sequence to the way that fight ended, and good win by Anthony Smith to be able to land that leg kick and get him out of there.
And the toughness of Jimmy Crute to just keep trying to walk on that, man. Could you imagine, just rolling your ankle like that over and over and over and still trying to fight, man?
He probably couldn't feel it.
Oh, man, the toughness that you have to have. So that was the main event. Let me see how much time. We got like three minutes left. So let's just run through just the prelims real quick. So Alex Oliveira getting submitted by Randy Brown. One arm rear naked choke. Crazy right there. Dwight Grant controversially getting it done over Sekulic. Carl Roberson thought he was going to get Brandon Allen in a leg lock, but Brandon Allen taps out Carl Roberson in a leg lock of his own. Tristan Connolly, man, I was really pulling for Connolly here after he beat Michel Pereira, but he just doesn't seem to have the same pop and the same ability to take shots down at 145. And then early prelims, just real quick. Boom, boom. Overall, the fights were just crazy all night. From start to finish, great night of fights. If you missed them, it was not the one to miss. Go back, please watch this. But that being said, man, anything else on just the fights before we get out of here?
Yeah, just overall, just a exciting night of fights. Great to see the crowd back. I know that, I think they said, just the standard UFC fight nights are going to be at the Apex Center, and then the pay-per-views are going to be at Florida and Texas locations, stuff like that. I kind of like that format because it's like, the pay-per-view is the one that gets the crowd. It's kind of like an exclusive thing, so it makes it kind of cool. So I like that little element on that. But overall, just a hell of a night of fights, and the pay-per-view really delivered. Definitely worth the money, if you ask me.
Definitely. All right, moving right along, on to our next topic, UFC news and fight talk. Let's kind of revisit our last topic for just 1 second. Let me know, what is your stipulations for Kamaru Usman being number one right now, or GOAT right now?
Well, I just think that the arguments that can be made that are over him are John Jones and Khabib. And Khabib's retired, have no ire to come back, or no desire to come back. So I don't think that you can put him over him. And then for John Jones, I think that as far as career-wise, I think John Jones could retire today, and he's the greatest fighter of all time, period. There's no argument. The way that he made his run through all the former champs early in his run, and for him to sustain the success and never lose, I do think that you had to commend him for being the greatest fighter of all time if he is to retire today. I don't think he needs to win the heavyweight title in order to be called that. But I think as far as right now, active fighters, John Jones has shown some chinks in his armor in his last few fights. Just to be honest, I mean, Thiago Santos, he took a scorecard away from John Jones in the fight. That was the first time John Jones had ever gone to a decision, and I think that Reyes beat him personally. I thought Reyes had put it on him. So John has shown to not be invincible in his last few fights. I think that Usman is getting to the point now to where no one can even be on the same playing field as him. He got caught by a shot by Gilbert Burns, but after that, he completely controlled the fight. Against Masvidal both times, he wrestled him the first time, and then he knocked him out the second time. I think the guy, Colby, gave him as much trouble as he could give him, and still wasn't enough. In that fifth round, Usman just completely put it on him. So you just compile all his performances, the fact that he's going out there, getting better after every fight. I think as far as active champions right now, I don't think there's another fighter in the organization who's on a hotter streak right now than Kamaru Usman.
All right. I see where you're coming from, but it's just, man, John he's just so good and proven that time and time again. To this point, my point will always be made at this. It is a lot harder to keep that championship than it is to gain that championship, because when you have that championship, everyone in the world is training for you and no one else, dude. They are all gunning for you, hoping to fight you one day. But on the other hand, when you are fighting for the championship, or when you are the champion, you take on all these challengers over and over, a different one every single time. As where people are training for you for years, you get an 8 to 16 week training camp for that. And John has kept this on over 10 years now, man. Once Kamaru Usman will have that championship for 10 years straight and beat everyone, however many times he has to do it, then I will give Kamar his props. But until then, man, John has he's just been 10 years of straight dominance, and Kamaru's only done it, 2 or 3 years now, man? It's not there. It's not there.
Quick caveat, you can't say 10 years because John had missed some years due to him having a couple of...
Would he have lost if he wasn't fighting, though? No.
No. You never know. You never know.
No.
The burnout. You never know. Because I think some of the good parts for John Jones is that he was able to get those breaks in between his career, even though it was self-sabotaging. A lot of times, like Robert Whittaker, he said he sustained a burnout. Rose was champ for 1 or 2 fights, and she sustained a burnout. John, even when he first came back, when he beat Alexander Gustafsson the second time, he told us how active he wanted to be, and that he missed it. And then he went 3 title fights, and he immediately got burned out. So maybe during that time, who knows if he could have gotten burned out and gotten caught. But you know how wild this sport is, so you never know if he could have lost a fight within those years. So to say 10 years is a stretch, but I think in terms of title defenses, I do think Usman needs a few more to be called the greatest of all time, but I'm talking currently right now. There's no other dominant fighter. There's no other fighter that's more dominant than Kamaru Usman. Yeah, you can't convince me otherwise.
At 170 and at 185, we have Khamzat Boris Chimaev that has shown nothing but dominance. So we'll see. It may happen later this year, dude. You never even know. But let's not spend too much more time on it. Let's not spend too much more time on this, man. So, other news and fight talk. Izzy versus Vettori has been announced. I don't even want to see this, man. I'm going to be honest. I don't care for it at all. Whatever. The new Venom kits are actually kind of starting to grow on me, man. After seeing them like more and more, dude, I kind of like them. I'm not going to lie. Nick Diaz was in the crowd, and at the post-fight press conference, Dana White was asked, "What's Nick Diaz doing here?" And Dana White said, "Nick Diaz wants to fight. I got a meeting with him right after this." So we're going to talk about what's happening there. And then lastly, on my side at least, Tyron Woodley getting released from the UFC. Does this mean that he is going to start his boxing future and hopefully fuck up Jake Paul? That's what I want, but we'll talk about it, dude. So what do you want to talk about first here, man? Izzy versus Vettori, Venom Kids, Nick Diaz, Tyron, or something on your end?
More the Izzy and Marvin fight. As you know, Izzy is my favorite fighter. So I just, man, I really don't like the Marvin fight. I feel like the only reason why Marvin is getting the fight is because Izzy wants to be active, and Dana believes that Marvin Vettori is a guy that has reach over in Italy and has pulling power to the likes of Darren Till and Conor McGregor in Europe when it comes to a nation's standing behind you. So that's the reason why Marvin Vettori is getting a shot. It just seems weird that he has the same performance against Kevin Holland that Derek Brunson did. Derek Brunson beat him first, and Derek Brunson was ranked higher before, he was, and then they moved Vettori up to number 3 and give him the title shot. It just seems a little fishy the way they did Derek Brunson, but I would think that, of course, Whittaker deserved the chance more. Dana kind of spoke to saying that Whittaker wanted to come back around August or September, and Izzy wanted to come back in June. The show goes on, and Vettori gets a shot. But I think the only reason why he gets a shot, Vettori that is because the show has to go on, and Izzy is ready to come back. Because Izzy wasn't even excited to fight him. He just wants to come back and get active again. So, really not too excited about the announcement, but it is what it is.
Yeah, just feel like the vengeance that Izzy is about to come back with is like none other. He's just going to smash Marvin, dude. So moving right along, what are your thoughts on the Venom kits now that we've seen a championship Venom kit and all the colors going on, man? Do you like them? Are they like, now? What's up, man?
Yeah, I'm starting to like them a little more now. I think the initial rollout was a little tough because you couldn't really see the kits on them that well in the photo shoot with like Aljamain Sterling and Brian Ortega and them. When they were doing the photo shoot, you couldn't really see the, as my daughter's screaming in the background, you couldn't really see them displayed that well, but now you can see them displayed a little bit more, especially with the
as we lost Dorian, so I don't know what happened there. Well, there he is, so every week, man, every week, dude.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Luckily enough, I can hear you.
I'm sorry. I was getting a call. Now I ended up, that ended up bumming me out. Now I ended up losing my train of thought.
It's okay. You enjoy the Venom kits.
The championship colors. Yeah, the championship colors now that I've seen it, it has a good look. So, yeah, I actually do like the new Venom kits now.
I just hope that there is a little personalization. Like, I hope Bryce Mitchell gets his camo. I hope Sugar Sean can, get something cool with him too. But anyway, moving right along, Nick Diaz, dude. Do you think he's going to come back? Do you think he's going to fight someone? Or is this kind of just, I don't know, something else going on here, man?
The last couple of times that he's done that, he's never ended up getting another fight. So I don't see Nick Diaz coming back. Maybe, I don't know if he has another business venture to be pushing, but it almost seems like every time that Dana has ever talked about Nick Diaz fighting before, he had never been excited about him coming back, and now all of a sudden he's going to have a talk with him about coming back. Me personally, I don't see it happening. I would like to see it happen. I was hearing some people talking about the possibility of him getting matched up with Masvidal, and I would definitely really like that. That would be a really fun matchup, but it seems like Nick Diaz in the past has never been really in love with fighting and had been kind of content with where he's at now, so I don't really see him or really anticipate making a comeback.
Fair enough. It would be interesting to see the return of Nick Diaz. The last time we saw him was against Anderson Silva. The man laid down in the middle of the fight, taunting Anderson Silva. So everyone loves Nick Diaz. Hopefully we can see a nice return. So moving right along, the chosen one, Tyron Woodley, man, gets released. This is, man, how do I say this? I didn't want to see Tyron get released, but I was hoping that Dana would allow him to go on just one boxing venture, but I almost feel like now it's imminent. We're going to get Tyron Woodley in a boxing match. What do you think's going to happen here, man? Is he going to fight Jake Paul? Is he going to fight whatever the fuck the dude's name was? I don't even know. Or do you find him somewhere else, man? What's going on here?
Really unfortunate for Tyron Woodley, man. I really didn't want to see him get cut. I know he had the run-in with, I think it was Jay Leon Love, they call him.
I don't know his name, dude.
I don't know if it would be Jake Paul. He said he wanted to fight Jay Leon Love in MMA, and he wanted to fight Jake Paul in boxing. But really unfortunate to see just the fall from grace that Woodley has had from being the welterweight champion to working his way up to being one of the welterweight greats. And ever since I lost to Usman, it was like, I don't know if Usman took his soul or what, but because I know he kind of beat the will out of him for 5 rounds. And man, it just seemed like ever since then, Woodley has just not been able to be himself or be the guy that we had known him to be. And of course, he's a little bit older now, so he is close to 40. Super talented guy. The guy can, he's a really good TV analyst. He's a really good coach, very great mind in MMA. So I think, outside of the octagon, if he does decide to step away, he has definitely plenty of other ventures that he can climb into and be successful. But man, it really sucks to see him get cut. What's next for him? Whether he gets that Jake Paul fight, who knows, man. If he does, go get a payday. I'm really not super interested in seeing it. I'd like to see him kind of ride off now. Kind of call it quits while it's good right now.
I would love to see him knock Jake Paul's head through wherever they're fighting, dude. That would make my fucking night. I don't know. I think Tyron still has some fight left in him. I would like to still see him fight. I don't know where. I'm down to watch Tyron wherever he ends up at, man. So, any other news that you want to talk about, man, or is that about it? I can't hear you. You muted yourself, man.
Oh, yeah, I need to get a little bit better about that. But yeah, no, really, just the Izzy Marvin one was kind of the one that was kind of, itching at me the most, just Marvin getting the shot.
Fair enough. Moving right along, this upcoming weekend's fights, Yuri Prochazka versus Dominic Reyes. There's 5 fights on this card. I'm just going to give them to you real quick. And I'm seeing some heaters coming, man. Seeing some heaters. We got Dom Reyes versus Yuri Prochazka. We got Cub Swanson versus Giga Chikadze. Oh, man. Ian Cutelaba versus Justin Jacoby, Sean Strickland versus Christoph Jacko, Merab Dwashvili versus Cody Stamen, Polyana Bontella versus Lulana Carolina. I'll be honest, I don't know the the female fight on here, man. So if you just want to do the 5 on the main event there. So we got Dom versus Reyes, we got Swanson versus Chikadze, Cutelaba versus Jacoby, Strickland versus Jacko, and Dwashvili versus Stamen, right? Are you there? Hello. Are you there?
We good.
All right, we're good. All right, so did you hear the fights, and do you hear what we're picking on?
Yeah, I heard Dom versus Reyes, and that was the last thing I heard. But I do have the fight card pulled up.
Dom versus Reyes. Apparently, I have. Yeah. Anyway, I apologize, guys. You have the. Obviously, I'm gonna put the card up, and we're gonna talk about it. But so I'm gonna give you my picks real quick, and hopefully I can win that shiny strap back that Dorian has right over his shoulder right there. So Prochazka versus Reyes. I'm gonna be honest. Yuri is a fucking monster. I'm going for Prochazka here. Cub Swanson versus Giga Chikadze. Cub Swanson is a dog, a vet, but Chikadze here, he's going to knock Cub Swanson out. I'm calling that now. Cutelaba versus Justin Jacoby. Hey, Cutelaba is still not knocked out from his last one, and I believe that he gets it done here. Sean Strickland versus Christoph Jacko. This is kind of up in the air for me, man. I'm going to go Sean Strickland here. No clue why. Dwashvili versus Cody Stamen. This is the makings to be fight of the night. It's going to be a straight wrestling match, so if you're not into that, be ready for that. But I think Dwashvili gets it done here. So my picks overall are Prochazka, Chikadze, Cutelaba, Strickland, and Dwashvili. That is my 5 picks, yes. So hopefully that strap can come back with me next week. Give me your picks, man. Who do you got?
Nah, I'm gonna give you the real on why the belt's gonna stay here with me.
All right.
So Dominic Reyes is going to be able to come back off the 2 fight losing streak that he's been on. Let's not forget the 2 fighters that he lost to are the last 2 light heavyweight champions in Jan and John Jones, so it's not like he's lost to some chumps, okay? So I still think he's one of the top light heavyweights. And then for the co-main event, give me Cub Swanson. For Cutelaba and Dustin Jacoby, give me Dustin Jacoby. I think Dustin Jacoby's got some very potent striking. Better watch out for that fight. That fight has to make it to be fight of the night. Give me Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland has been hot his last few fights. He even knocked out Brendan Allen in his last fight, if you didn't know that. But and then Merab Dwashvili. Let me go ahead and take him. Cody Stamen's a good fighter, but man, Merab, he's going to be able to put the pressure on, as you said. A lot of wrestling. I think Merab's going to be able to get away with the dub on that one.
All right, so we have 1 different, 2 different, 3 different. Yeah, so we have we have 3 different fights again. The main, co-main, and the feature bout. We will be picking those 3 different ones. So I guess without taking too long here, man, Why do you think Dom Reyes is going to get it done over Yuri, dude?
I do think that, as I was kind of saying in the picks, that Dominic Reyes, his last two losses are to Jan Blachowicz and John Jones, the current light heavyweight champ and what I claim to be the greatest fighter of all time. Those aren't two bad losses whatsoever. I think Dominic Reyes still is at the top of the division. I think in Yuri's last fight, he definitely showed a lot of excitement that he could bring to the division. Volkan hit him a couple of times and was actually able to drop him. I think if Reyes is able to catch him clean like that, Yuri is not going to be able to leave that fight with a win. I don't care what you say. Yuri, if he takes some shots from Dominic Reyes, we've seen Dominic Reyes put dudes on their butt and put them out. So I think he has the power to do it, and I think that he's going to be able to stop the skid that he's on right now and be able to get the win.
All right, fair enough. But you're acting like you didn't see Volkan No Time Uzdemir also give people the beats, knock them clean out. And man, Yuri stood in front of him, yelling, screaming as Volkan was punching him in the face, man. That has to be the most disheartening thing on earth. Could you imagine that? You trying to knock someone out.
He dropped him a couple of times too, though. He was playing a little bit too much with his chin. And I'm saying if he plays a little bit too much with his chin, similar to Masvidal did last night with Usman, Reyes isn't the guy to play with like that because he's going to put your lights out.
Anyway, I think Yuri gets it done here. It's going to be a exciting fight, to say the least. The fight is going to be interesting. I can't wait to see what happens here. Chikadze versus Swanson, man. Giga Chikadze, dude, he is a elite striker, dude. The dude striking is on point. And Cub is just getting older, man. And I don't want to say he's chinny, because he's not, but you've seen when he does get hit by a person that has power, he does tend to go down. A la Brian Ortega, just things like that, dude. I just say he like knocked him down. I'm getting my fights confused right now, dude. Forget what I just said. He had him in the one arm fucking guillotine. I have a fight in my head now that I just. Yeah,
I feel like you're thinking about Frankie Edgar.
No, it was against Cub Swanson. I know what you're talking about. That was the fight that I got confused with this one that I thought was Cub Swanson, but that was definitely Frankie Edgar. But who am I thinking about that? Anyway, it's not important. I think Chikadze gets it done here, dude. The dude is quick. He's powerful. He definitely has KO power. He might be undefeated, dude. Let me check this right here real quick, because I know he was for a while. Anyway, it's not important. Chikadze here. That's why I think he gets it done. Why do you think Swanson gets it done here, man?
I think that Cub Swanson, I think that his last fight, he looked really good. He fought Daniel Pineda in his last fight, and he was able to get away with the knockout. You remember when he had him, his back was against the cage against Pineda, and he landed the two uppercuts, and then he followed up with a big overhand right and put him out. That was one of the best knockouts of last year. I really enjoyed Cub Swanson coming back in the way that he did to get that knockout. So I think that Chikadze, he is a young up-and-comer. Dude is very potent. But I think that just Cub Swanson's got that old grit in him. And as we like to say, kind of when we're playing UFC 4, he's got that junkyard dog in him, man. He's a guy he's a veteran. He's veteran savvy. His boxing's getting better, so I think he's going to be able to come away with the win.
Fair enough. It wouldn't surprise me because, as you said, he is a old dog, or old vet. Ion Cutelaba versus Dustin Jacoby. I'm going to be honest, I've never seen Dustin Jacoby fight, or at least that I can remember right off the top of my head. That is why I picked Ion Cutelaba. I at least know who he is. He has made a name for himself. Good or bad, at least. I know who he is. Why do you think Dustin Jacoby gets it done here?
Dustin Jacoby, I've actually watched him on the Contender Series a couple of times, or Contender Series, and then I watched a couple of his fights in the UFC. I believe he's 2 fights in right now, and he actually has looked really good with his striking. He's super sharp. The only thing that gets him a little bit is that he starts off fast and he tends to fade as the fight goes. So I think with a guy like Cutelaba, just a true gritty fighter, I think that he can take it to him. And Jacoby does tend to gas out a little bit, but if Cutelaba tends to get hit a lot, and I think if you get hit by Dustin Jacoby like that, he's a super sharp kickboxer, and he's going to be able to put it on Kutalaba if Kutalaba doesn't get a little bit better with his head movement. So I think the sharper striker is Dustin Jacoby, and I think he's going to be able to get away with potentially a knockout.
Well, I'll let you know, if Ian has been training with Edmund, his head movement will be on point, because that is Edmund's favorite thing to train, you know. So, we both picked Strickland. Huh? Head movement. I can't believe you still have that damn belt over your shoulder this whole damn show. Anyway, so Sean Strickland and Merab Dwajvili, we both picked these here. Christoph Jacko, just an older fighter, man. I just don't see him getting it done here. And as you kind of pointed out in the beginning, Merab Dwajvili versus Cody Stamann. Merab Dwajvili is just an animal on the ground. He will wrestle you to death. Cody Stamann, on the other hand, will also wrestle you, and the dude does have power. This fight could go anywhere, but I'm sticking with my pick of Dwajvili here. Anything else on this main card, man?
Yeah, I do think that Dwalishvili and Cody Stamann fight, I think that has the potential to be a very good fight as well. Two young guys coming up in the bantamweight division, and Dwalishvili is working his way up too. So I'm excited to see, how the winner of that fight moves forward.
Fair enough. I'm just looking at the prelims right now. Not too much going on here, man. We got the return of the Quiet Storm, Randa Marcos. I'm a Randa Marcos fan. It was probably one of the last seasons I watched of Tough that I can at least remember, because after a while, dude, I just stopped watching. I was like, I don't care. But I do remember Randa Marcos on there. Same season as Rose, Carlos Esparza, all those to be the 115-pound champion. Anything else? Loma Lookboomy. She is returning. I'm not sure if she won her last fight, but man, she is a crazy Thai style fucking kickboxer. Is going to be an interesting one going up against Sam Hughes. Don't know who that is, man. Anything on these prelims that you want to talk about, my guy?
I think that Luke Sanders coming back. I think that'll be. I think the last couple fights I'd seen him, and he was in pretty exciting fights. So.
Okay.
Of course, it's always going to be hard to follow up the pay-per-view that you had this past weekend to going into another weekend. But these are the types of cards that, you don't really know too many fighters' names, but then they end up coming out, making their performance, and making a name.
Ooh.
So
we've got the return of Jonathan Pierce, also known as JSP. Jonathan JSP Pierce. The dude is really good. Look out for him, too. I'm like, why does that name sound familiar? And then I saw his picture, and I'm like, JSP Pierce. So, a fan favorite, too.
Yeah, I think that these types of cards, like I said, the lesser-known fighters, they tend to shine a little bit more, because these are the type of cards that we'll say, not a lot of big names. I'll tend to skip this one, and a lot of times you get the best performances in those. So excited to see if any of those guys can pull off, any types of performances like that.
Definitely. Hopefully we can hit a meme parlay next week, because I always throw a buck or two on a 7 to 10 leg parlay, and hey, sometimes you might win. Most of the time I just get my heart broken, but that is all right, man. Anything else on next week's card before we move along, my guy?
Return of Gabriel Benitez. I've seen that he's coming back. He's typically a pretty exciting fighter too. So be on the lookout for him as well in the featherweight division. But man, I think I'm good.
Fair enough. We just need to watch all of next week's card. All right. So moving on to our next topic, a new topic this week, revisited. Dorian, you've had time to listen to last week's episode. So anything that, I guess without being too obvious, blatant, I want to change my pick to this one or this one. Anything that you want to go back and just re-talk about for just a second, or just kind of elaborate more, or even change your opinion on?
Not really so much as far as change my opinion. I mean, we can maybe take it and spin it forward just in terms of Robert Whittaker. I think that he gets just a little bit of slack for him just not being the over assertive loud guy in the room whenever it comes to calling for a title shot. I hope that Dana says, or what Dana says is true, and that he'll give him the title shot next. Robert Whittaker seemed content with it as far as letting Marvin take the shot first. Now, Dana did say that he came to Robert Whittaker first, and Robert Whittaker said he wouldn't be ready for that date. So that was why Marvin was able to get the title shot. So just as far as maybe spinning it forward, Robert Whittaker, hopefully he gets a title shot, man. I really hope the UFC doesn't do him dirty and say that they're going to give him a title shot and then throw him out there against another contender, because the guy just fights number one contender after number one contender at this point, man. So there's really no point in, kind of recycling that. Izzy, I know he doesn't want to do any of the rematches and stuff like that, but look, he's already doing one as far as Vittori. If he wants to stay busy as a champ at 185, that's just what it's going to have to be until new contenders come up, is him to be having rematches. And he's got a couple of rematches on the horizon because, my daughter's getting her hair done and she doesn't like it whatsoever. So that's her kind of screaming like she's getting murdered in the background. But yeah, I think that Robert Whittaker is a rightful number one contender, and hopefully the UFC doesn't do him dirty and actually gives him the title shot, regardless if Izzy wins or loses against Vittori.
Fair enough. I mean, as far as, I don't want to say I called it, but I kind of called it. I was like, Rob's not going to get this fight because he's not going to be ready for it. And sure enough, that's what happened. I didn't really think they were going to wait out Till, but I mean, man, don't be too surprised if Till fights Izzy before Rob fights Izzy, just because of just something happening. Dude, the timing in this sport literally shits on everything. I said that last week. The timing that people just want to fight in literally shit on everything in this sport. But as far as that, dude, last week, whatever, man. I'm going to say some wrong stuff every week. Who knows? If there's anything blatant, I will go back and try to correct myself. But like from last week, man, I don't know. I want to see Tyron fight Jake Paul. I'm glad we kind of talked about it just a little bit, and I'm sticking with that, man. Anything else, or are you ready for the WTF moment of the week, my guy?
Let's WTF it up, man.
All right, WTF moment of the week. Bum, bum, bum. Here we go, dude. Time to chill out for a second. I'm going to ask Dorian a question, MMA related or otherwise. So here we go, dude. The WTF moment of the week. Let's just say that for some reason you find yourself in a extreme large amount of money at this point, and you are looking for yourself a bodyguard, right? So obviously the first people that come to your mind are going to be UFC fighters, right? And you can pay these fighters whatever they need to pay. But there's going to be one catch to this, dude. You have to pick one fighter to be your bodyguard for the rest of your life, right? Here's the caveat, though. It can't be a fighter currently in the UFC. So you can pick a version of any fighter. For example, you can pick the 2010 John Jones. You can pick whatever, but you can't pick John Jones because he's still in the UFC. So it can't be a fighter that is still currently in the UFC.
So a fighter that's not currently in the UFC, does it have to be, can it be other organizations?
Yeah.
Yeah, can it be other organizations? Okay.
Yeah.
And can it be, like, if I had somebody in boxing, would that be...
Sure, why not?
Is that out? Because I think if I had to choose one, I'd probably have to go, it kind of got me thinking a little bit. I'm thinking, I don't know if I want to do an MMA fighter just for the grappling aspect, because they're going to have more grappling understanding, or I don't know if I want to go with a big heavyweight boxer just because there's not going to be too many people who's going to be able to wrestle Tyson Fury. 270-pound Tyson Fury. There's not going to be too many regular dudes walking the streets and be able to take him down. So I think if I had to choose anybody, give me Tyson Fury. I think that he'd as big as he is, as powerful as he is, I think that he'd be a fun bodyguard as well. He's a little bit of a wild guy, so I think he'd be fun to hang around with. And that's a big ass dude. Ain't nobody gonna be able to get through him, man. Not without
I would have allowed you to pick a fighter currently in the UFC, would you have picked Francis?
Probably, yeah.
Exactly, and that's why.
Either him or Cyril Gane.
Okay, fair enough.
I would say between the two, and Cyril Gane because he's got the grappling aspect. Just because both of them are just absolute specimens, dude. They're just bricked up to the gills. So I would have to say between them two.
All right, mine is probably gonna be like, just a little bit. I need you to, I guess, think about MMA before we were really watching it, dude, and just think about the rise of Victor Gracie, a.k.a. Vitor Belfort, the 19-year-old. The dude was guaranteed juice to the gills, just coming in, wrecking everybody. If I could pick that Vitor Belfort to be my bodyguard for the rest of my life, dude, how can you not pick that guy? He was just so... He would fuck up anyone without a doubt. I guess, what's your thoughts on my, early 90s Vitor Belfort as my bodyguard?
Man, I'm really surprised you went early 90s Vitor. Did early 90s Vitor fought in the UFC, though, right? So I mean,
yes. Yeah, he won the first UFC, or like it was like a medal. Like he was like the first one, like 19 years old, to actually win that. So technically, he is the youngest champion in UFC history. But that was before Zuffa took over and such. But Vitor Belfort, man, that dude was just... I can go back and watch that and just be like, oh, no one's beating this dude. He was just ready. I want to know what drugs he was on to get ready for that, because he was just ready to fucking go. Dude, he was ripping people's faces off.
Vitor was super scary back in the day, or just whenever he had his little runs. You know, his runs were always a little bit aided by something, whether it was the TRT run or his early 90s run. But I think that's a sneaky pick, because you have kind of like the spazzy guy. You know, he's super quick. He doesn't look super intimidating, but you get some of that TRT in him, and he's going to kick your ass for sure.
And he'd always have a fresh-ass haircut. Vitor Belfort always got nice haircuts on him, no matter what it is, man. But I guess that's going to be pretty much it for today's show, man. Anything else you want to talk about before we get out of here, man?
No, man, just a really fun night of fights overall with the pay-per-view. Really delivered a super fun night of fights. Unfortunate with Chris Weidman. Praise out to him to a speedy recovery, and not even just returning to come back to fight, but just being able to be an able human and being able to walk again and to be able to spend time with his kids and family. So praise out to him, man. But really fun night of fights overall, man. Really enjoyed it, and good fight today.
Definitely. Chris Weidman's wife did put up an Instagram post that it was a successful surgery, so he did have a successful surgery. So we're just wishing Chris Weidman a speedy recovery, if he fights again or not. Shout out Chris Weidman, dude. You had one of the craziest upsets of all time, knocking out Anderson Silva. So I can just look back to that time, dude. Shout out Chris Weidman if he doesn't ever fight again. But no matter what happens, we all wish you well. But aside from that, man, that's all for today's show. Make sure you keep my fucking belt real nice and shiny, because I will be coming to get it next week, dude. But from me and Dorian, that's all we got. Make sure you put a thumbs up on the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel if you are not already. Look at this guy up here. Remember, share this with everyone that that enjoys MMA, UFC. Get in the comments. Let us know. Did you like what we said? Do you like our content? Do you disagree, agree? Whatever you wish. I gotta get rid of this guy. All right, we're gonna get out of here, guys. Remember, stay golden.